Hiding. What are you afraid of? Why does South Africa number one for rape? Number one for rape in the world, South Africa. Number one. Yeah, why aren't you protesting that?
Now, the amazing soul that was advocating for a ceasefire and a liberation of Palestine is Tabitha Rich, who is a singer and also an employee of New Haven. The person that was doing that video that you just saw and the voice that you heard, it's on his YouTube page as well too, was Rabbi Poupko. Now, Rabbi Poupko, knowing that Tabitha is South African, after calling her a Nazi and to go back to Germany, he decides to talk about South Africa as being the capital of grape, which is not factual and isn't racist to try to tell a black person what they should be advocating for and you attacking where they come from. This was not mentioned in Paul Bass's article when he talked about this situation. He left out the racist South African comment. And instead, he compared Tabitha Rich unjustifiably to the racist police force that is working for the city.
Gaza is being now used by Hamas as a base for holding hostages. We cannot care for the humanitarian needs of Gazans without acknowledging the fact that Gaza is holding against international...
Now, that's another video clip of the same Rabbi Poupko, who is saying that it's against international law what is happening in Gaza, and there should not be any aid until the hostages is free. I show sympathy for the hostages and also the thousands of Palestinians who is women and children that are literally locked up in the West Bank with no charges, and also the thousands that were locked up previous as well too. Now, up here is a show of the international law that Israel is violating. Collective punishment. No individual, you could read this, no individual in these families should be held responsible for any attack that the government, Hamas, has done. Especially if you put it in terms, say, if America did this as well. So does that mean that American citizens should be bombed and starved? Just as all the reports that the International Court of Justice, Amnesty International, even the Human Rights Organization in Israel, and also the Human Rights Center, Human Rights Council has also reported on them as well too. But yet again, Paul Bass does not mention that as well too. And I'd like to also call out the complicity of the mayor as well. Aliker, who is a well-known ACLU lawyer before he was voted in, he marched with Black Lives Matter, and he also advocated for the Civilian Review Board, which was passed in after a 20-year fight off of the behest of the beloved Emma Jones because of what happened to her son. He used that momentum to beat Tony Hart to become mayor. And now here we have a black woman who was being attacked. This is a problem. Just like we are ignoring that Mayor Rabbi Poupko is displaying racism on his Twitter page and also on his YouTube page on being anti-Muslim, and we see the anti-black sentiment as well too. Mayor Aliker, who is only in office because of the black movement, refuses to stand in solidarity with the constituents that put him in office. We chose you over a black woman. So Aliker doesn't look for nuance in the conversation, especially when she's South African and English is not her first language. Instead, it's a complex issue. How is it complex when there's evidence that no one wants to look at and they choose to be biased for? We literally have over 20 nations and more suing Israel. Look at the UN. People are walking out whenever Israeli officials talk now. Sanders, who was not pro ceasefire, has switched his tune. So what are we seeing? Over 80 cities in the United States is calling for a ceasefire resolution now. And New Haven, hearing that we had yesterday, and footage will come out on that, the Board of Alders have decided to put the ceasefire resolution into the committee. That doesn't mean that the ceasefire resolution has been passed, but the fact that it's in a committee shows that there's a difference. It took them months to do this, by the way, even though during Ukraine, it took them only weeks to do. Yet the city has made a decision to give Tabiza sensitivity training. And we're going to also have another video talking about Hopkins School as well too. But I have not seen anything into talking about the anti-blackness that she dealt with, just living in her right to give her First Amendment right to protest an accurate case of genocide that even the International Court of Justice, the UN, Amnesty International, Human Rights Center, Council, all these groups have acknowledged in her right to protest this genocide. But there is no repercussions for the man, Rabbi Poupko, for his rhetoric. It is not hard to find and see that he has racist sentiment. So I stand in solidarity with my black sister and her family and everything that they are dealing with. And you know it's scary. You know it's scary. And the mayor needs to be asked, why isn't he being and showing integrity